Hey kids, it's Dean with the Crypto the WonderDog show. Hey, today we're going to be talking about decentralization. What is decentralization? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it ugly? Could be all the above. But if you don't know what it is, then how you can talk about it? Well, we don't know what it is really, but we're going to talk about it today. Today's show is sponsored by Reka Vodka, and it's made of Iceland. It's not made in Iceland, it's made of Iceland. Beautiful, clear, crisp vodka. Sit back and enjoy a commercial by Reka Vodka.
People ask me, what do Icelanders drink? Reka vodka, of course. People also ask me, what do Icelanders eat? Hot dogs. We eat hot dogs.
All right, hey kids. Dean and Charlie today. Got Charlie back on the air. Charlie, how the hell are you?
I don't know. I was hoping you could tell me. But I guess I'm doing okay.
Good, man. How's the Northwest treating you?
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, there's much fewer instances of road rage. Remember when I went to go see you a couple of years ago? My wife and I saw like about 4 instances of road rage. Honestly, in the week and a half or two, whatever we were down in Southern California wandering around, we saw about 4 instances of road rage. It was.
I know. I've experienced it today too, and I even left the house. People knocking on the door. What the hell are you doing? So,
park your car that way. It's crazy, man.
It is. So you got yourself a new microphone, Charlie?
Yeah.
We're trying
I was
to
hoping you wouldn't notice, but
upgrade the show a little bit, and you went and got yourself a new microphone, plugged it into your. How do you have the whole thing set up?
I got to say something. I used to work in radio a long time ago. This was back in the '90s, and it was big. Well, you were at KPFK. You came and visited me, and they had these.
Yeah.
Big giant studios, soundproof, every damn thing going on.
Yeah, you wouldn't hear the police in the background. Yeah.
Yeah, you wouldn't do that. And the thing was, the microphones were the size of a ham hock. This thing is just a very. I'm getting kind of the same thing for a fraction of the cost. These things are amazing. The technological improvements in the last 25 years.
It is, isn't it?
Electronics. It's incredible. It's amazing.
That's what I keep trying to tell my daughter. You know, she's sitting there complaining about her camera. My daughter's into film and everything. And I got her a camera a couple of years ago, and it wasn't, it's not a freaking Panavision, but it's better than anything that you could have had 20 years ago trying to make a movie. And she complained that that's why her movies weren't any good, because she didn't get a camera. So I fixed that little horse and pony show. I went and got herself... Well, she actually saved up a bunch of money over Christmas, and I found a camera that was almost as good as mine, and I went and got it for her. So now I'm waiting to see what her complaint is. So we'll see if I'm raising the next Steven Spielberg or Charlie Waters.
How old is Cookie now?
She is 15. She'll be 16 next month. Sweet 16.
Where did that all go?
Well, I'll tell you what. It went to her bad attitude. That's where it went.
Well, I just remember, her selling, Girl Scout cookies.
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
That was about a minute, and she's always tried to look into the next great thing, and she wants desperately to be that girl that gets up and gets the award, and people clap for her, but she doesn't realize that it takes hard work. These girls that are getting these awards, they didn't sit back and let somebody else do the work while they collected the awards and everything. So she's starting to realize that, and she's she's trying her hardest. Well, no, I can't say that. She's not trying her hardest. She's trying. That's what I'm hoping for. That she's trying, and she's going to eventually see that this isn't a free world, and you gotta toe your own line. You gotta plow your own field if you want to reap the crops.
She's 15. Sure.
Yeah, these kids that have come up with these parents that thought that we were going to give them a better life, and all we did was send them backwards.
Raise expectations only for them to be dashed along.
Yeah, I didn't have encouragement growing up. I didn't have my mom was, gouging me to go and do this and buying me that. I was out playing with rocks and riding BMX bicycles and thought I was going to be the next BMX superstar, and my mom couldn't give a damn. And, I tried harder that way. And I think by parents that are, they see their kids have this tiny little glimpse of interest in something and they jump all over it and they're like, oh my God, you like golf? Okay, you're going to be the next Tiger Woods. And all the kid was like, hey, I like the golf ball. I didn't say I want to go play golf. I like this golf ball. I like all the dimples on it. So. Anyway, our show today, Charlie, we're talking about decentralized, to be or not to be. And, I truly didn't really understand what decentralized was until I started looking into it. And I know it's just a simple word, centralized, decentralized. I got a quick little graphic here I just want to talk about. It says centralized, it kind of shows you in little dots and lines how you could kind of visualize what a centralized, decentralized, and distributed networks would look like if you were to just look at them with a graph. And you can kind of see, it's like one central location, all these little bullets go to it. And then decentralized is several centrals and several little lines, and none of them, are the main hub. And then distributed networks, which no one really talks about, but that one is truly... everything's connected to everything else. So, tell me what give me your.
Well, the thing is that when you first approached me about cryptocurrencies, one of the things that you told me that was one of the major attributes, or one of the most important attributes of cryptos, was that they were decentralized, and that's one of the primary attributes that in fact does sell cryptocurrencies to a lot of people. As my son, who got involved with some cryptocurrencies himself, had said, it was basically a way to turn your thumb up, to basically give it to the banks, because the banks,
giving it to the man
because they pretty much botched up so many different things, because you have this one central authority, you have this one, the Federal Reserve or the Treasury or whatever it may be, that's creating fiscal and monetary policy, that you don't have any access, that you don't have any they don't have accountability. Actually, it's opaque. You can't really see what they're doing until after the fact, if at all. And a lot of people were just fed up with that in many different ways. And that, I think, was one of the great appeals of cryptocurrency, was that it was able to say to people, you have we're creating a technology that's capable of getting you away from these kinds of mistakes, these kinds of people, and you may have much more of a capacity to interact with people directly. And that was a great appeal. And so I began looking into it, and having had a finance and accounting background, boy, I had to deal with a lot of centralization. I mean.
Yeah.
When I was an accountant, I had to deal with the SEC. I had to deal with the IRS, the state. Those were federal. The state versions of that, control of the currency. There were a lot of central authority, or a lot of centralized power that I had to deal. And all of us had to deal with, and had to.
And they're so nice and lovable over at the IRS. And they have a total. They understand their own laws. And they're so willing to give you help whenever you don't understand yours, and they pat you on the back. And it'll be all right. It'll be okay, right? That's how they treat you.
Oh, yeah. In fact, I went in there and they asked me if I wanted a foot massage. Would you like a cappuccino?
That's my experience too. Wait, no, that wasn't the IRS. They said, bend over. Yeah. We're taking everything you have, even if we don't deserve it. We want it.
Well, and it's been years since I've done that kind of work. But as bad as and this is the state of California, boy, the state of California was tougher
they're lovely.
Than the IRS.
Boy, talk about people that don't know how to run their own government. Government that didn't know how to run government. My God. They're the highest freaking taxes in the country. Aren't we like one of the most taxed states in the union?
Yeah.
And they're
Dean,
constantly broke. They can't pay for crap.
Dean, be careful because we don't know who's listening. And,
come on, come get me. I got nothing. Come take nothing. All right.
Hey, you got a cookie. They'll probably get it. You know,
I'm sure. They've already got her inheritance. They've already got it. You know, she's gonna have to make her own. I don't give a damn.
But anyway, that's the kind of thing that a lot of people have been. And it's funny because my son is generation millennial, I guess. I don't know, Generation X, he's like this, late 20s and something like that. And so I talked to, or he was telling me about his other friends who were kind of thinking the same sort of thing as well. It was a way to basically try to find an alternative means of transmission and wealth creation and what have you. But, and we've talked about this time and again, the minute you have a futures market, that kind of all goes out the door. The futures market, and again, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with a futures market, but what they do is they centralize the economic activity of a commodity. For instance, let's say, for instance, pork bellies or those kinds of commodities, wheat, precious metals, and Bitcoin. Bitcoin opened up, I think in 2017, went to the the Chicago Board of Options Exchange. And that is a huge organization that oversees and gatekeeps the marketing of what do you call it? You know, of options and of commodities. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Commodities,
well, yeah. To me, the minute that you started doing that, and the minute that you went to that kind of a mechanism, is the moment that, to me, cryptocurrencies stopped, or at least Bitcoin. Not all cryptocurrencies, but Bitcoin became decentralized or centralized.
Becoming centralized. So but that's just one. That's just one entity, though, right? That's not all of crypto. That's not all of Bitcoin. That's just one entity, right? It's just it does it for the people that are involved with them, right?
Well, you're talking about cryptocurrencies or Bitcoin specifically?
Bitcoin, you know, it said from the Chicago Board of Option Exchanges, CBOE, and the CME, Chicago Mercantile Exchange.
Yeah.
So if you're not involved with those people at all, then is it still centralized?
But the thing is that what is the thing that we look at when we trade with anything? What's the first thing you look at? It's the price of whatever object or commodity that you're trying to purchase.
Yeah, if you can afford it.
If I'm gonna,
it's going to go up, it's going to go down.
Afford it. So these are the things that set the price. It's not necessarily you and I trading Bitcoin specifically. It's going to be these people that you have no control, you don't know, they're private entities that are saying, you know, in our opinion, in our valued opinion, we think that this is what's going to be the price of this particular commodity, let's say Bitcoin futures, a certain period of time down the road. And that takes away the fact that that graph that you put up, it becomes centralized. It becomes now connected, and there's the hub that sets the price. And I've gone back and forth with people, and I'm not necessarily an expert. I'm not going to claim that I am. I don't trade futures. I never have. I'm not a stockbroker. Never have been. Never will be. But I do know this, just from common sense. If I'm going to buy something, it all depends on what the price is and who's setting that price. If I bought my home, I have to figure out, you know, what the price of that home is, and if that price, you know, is congruent with what the actual value of that house is. And what do we really have here? We have, like I said before, I guess I'm more familiar with how precious metals are trading. Not because I trade precious metals, but because I've been following that market for quite a while.
Yeah.
And it's speculators that put out shorts or naked, you know, these naked shorts that if you take a look at gold, for instance, the amount of gold that's traded on the options market is far, far more in terms of paper ounces, fabricated ounces of gold than actually is mined. So the material is only a small portion of the actual amount of gold that's traded back and forth through paper contracts that are never settled only by money. Well, wait a minute. You know, I can't fabricate, I can't create, you know, money out of, or gold out of nothing. I mean, I don't have the power to go out there and, I mean, I suppose I can get involved in this market, but that only allows, but I'm only a tiny little guy. There's going to be major bullion banks or entities that have far more resources than I do that are going to be able to set that price. And again, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I'm not making a pejorative or qualitative statement. All I'm saying is this is the kind of mechanism, a thumbnail description of the mechanism that sets the price of precious metals. Now, we're saying the rationalization for it is that we need orderly markets. We don't need wild fluctuations. We need experts in the field to be able to smooth that out and to make orderly markets. That also happens in the NASDAQ and on the Dow Jones. The Dow Jones, you have specialists that trade in certain stocks. In the NASDAQ, they're called, they have the same type of person that specializes in market makers is what they're called on the NASDAQ, market makers. And they're people, generally guys, that go out there and will set the price depending on what they think is going to be an orderly flow of the market. Okay, we all want order, we all want regulation, we all want a pretty good idea of what's going to happen tomorrow and the next day and in the future. But that takes away decentralization. That takes away the whole notion of why we needed to get involved in the cryptocurrencies in the first place, at least in the case with Bitcoin. And we're going to start to see in the future because Bitcoin, and if you take a look at the Bitcoin futures, if you take a look at how wildly volatile Bitcoin futures have been, or cryptocurrencies, but specifically Bitcoin futures have been, it tends to negate that idea of an orderly market that is free of these kinds of things. So, quite honestly, again, I'm not an expert in all this. I wouldn't be able to, I would step aside from somebody who's out there in the audience who could basically, describe it better than I can. All I'm taking a look at is the results. Yeah. And I don't see order. I don't see any centralization of authority that gives me that stability that I really would need or think I would need if I'm going to give them that kind of power.
Yeah. All right. Well, I put up we on the screen here. We have on CNBC, Bitcoin futures launches on the CME. CME, the world's largest future exchange, launched its own Bitcoin futures contract Sunday under the ticker BTC. The CME's most popular future contract, which expires in January, settled 2.5% lower Monday. And what was they talking about yesterday? This is what we're talking about.
No, this is.
Oh, this is in December. This is in December.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so it was on December 17th, 2017. So that's been a while ago.
It's not been a year yet. Yeah, but it has been quite a year. So we're going to have to try and figure out where this is going to go and then see how it works out in the next few years.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we saw what happened with Bitcoin, and we don't know if that if any of this has to do one or the other. That Bitcoin shot through the roof. And then it came back down. It came back up a little bit, and then it's come back down, and then it's come back up. So, over the last week or so, we've seen it in the 11,000 and some change, and then when you drop back down to 9,000 and some change, and if you were riding the wave right, you could have made a few dollars, but you going back to you saying that the centralization now is what you feel is happening because of it being launched on the CME and things like that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's my concern, and that's the question I'm bringing up. So,
okay, so we go over here to CoinDesk, and you sent me over this article, CoinDesk, December 8th, 2017. The threat of Bitcoin futures. And this, the financial press has been in a flutter over the launch of Bitcoin futures trading, on not one but two reputable, regulated, and liquid exchanges, CME and CBOE. So, yeah, does this take away from its decentralization?
Yeah, I would have to say that it does.
And are other people pointing this out? Are people getting upset about this? What do you think is happening?
I don't know. I mean, I would think that if in fact you were a person that is going to promote or launch your own cryptocurrency, your own coin, you would have to address this. not all cryptocurrency. There's something like 5,000 cryptocurrencies running around out there.
Yeah, there's one launching every day. I mean, if you watch the ICO updates, there's a few sites out there that'll let you know what ICOs are coming up, which ones are going to be launching soon, and they give you a rating on each one. But we've talked to people in the past that they talk about all ICOs are crap, or not all ICOs are crap. So but I mean it doesn't necessarily have to mean with what it's an ICO, but does it solve a problem? What's it doing? And I'm just like, I don't know enough about these things to talk intelligently on the subject itself, other than some of it looks fascinating, that you could buy something for a nickel and tomorrow it could be worth $1. So, and I think that's why all these silly Americans are jumping in on it.
Well, the thing is, when you take a look at Bitcoin, I mean, we're specifically talking about Bitcoin. But Bitcoin is the oldest of all of the cryptocurrencies. It's probably the one that's most understood or most appreciated or recognized.
It's the most publicized one, anyway.
Yeah, the most publicized one. And again, we talk about some of the people. We're going to try and get one particular guest on who's written a book called pretty much talking about the history of Bitcoin and how it was created by pirates. So he describes them as pirates, financial pirates, hackers. And it was all because of the fact that there was no central authority, no specific person that you can go to and say, this is how we're going to do it. But like I said, if price is what we determine the value of anything, and if the price is being set on the futures market, if that's what we're looking at, and that's where the volatility is, well, you've taken away that one aspect that supposedly was the most important aspect of that commodity. So, again, I would like to delve into this more deeply with any of the guests that we have, or any of our audience, if they have a perspective that they can make this more.
Yeah, that's something that I think we're missing on the show here, is we're not getting a lot of interaction with our fan base, and it would be great if everyone out there would like and subscribe to this channel. Show us your love. Give us some love. Tell us what you think the price of Bitcoin is going to be at the end of the year. We're going to put together a little game, and we're all going to get involved with it. And no one can cheat at this game. No one can cheat. Put in, give us your idea of what it's going to be down to the penny. We're basing this on the U.S. dollar, and we're just going to go two decimals into it. Like if you think it's going to be 10,582 and 62 cents, then put that in. Whoever lands closest to the penny, we're gonna give them a gift or a prize or a shout out or a smooch or something. I don't know. We'll figure it out, right, Charlie?
Oh yeah, sure. I've got my vintage Kia and my even more vintage Yugo. You can have it, and that'll be the prize. It's got to be worth something.
I think Yugo's coming out with their own coin here pretty soon. It's called the Yugo token.
But there's something else that I wanted to bring up, and we kind of talked about this. I talked about this with my friend who's an engineer, and he said, the real power lies with the people who have access to cheap energy. And if you have access to that kind of power supply, you can churn out more of these coins than somebody like me or somebody who doesn't have access.
Well, that's like, yeah, you sent that over to Oregon's cheap hydropower attacks swarm of Bitcoin miners, right?
Attacks.
They attack them like a swarm of killer bees.
We're being attacked.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's from News Bitcoin. It was one of the recent articles that said, Oregon's cheap hydro. There you go. Oregon's cheap hydropower attracts a swarm of Bitcoin miners. And think about it. So when can I count on you, picking up the brood and coming up here and, setting up shop along one of our rivers and churning out tokens? I don't think
just like those old prospectors in the 1800s that out there with their pan and mining for gold. Panning for gold.
Yeah. Well, you got the beard going thing, so
I shave occasionally.
Into the shower, so,
yeah, I shave occasionally.
So there you go. And you got the mule in the backyard, so you're ready to go.
I'm going to have to lose a few teeth before I can do that, though.
Well, you're well on your way. But anyway, the thing is that is an option only available to people who have the resources to be able to access that kind of power.
Well, it's the cheap, the affordable power, the cooling, the ability to cool all these machines. You know what? You know, it's crazy that these companies are popping up all over the place. Yeah, I don't know if you've been. Well, yeah, I guess you haven't been. You're up there, but I go to Vegas pretty often, and there's a gigantic. I mean, a gigantic solar field out by State Line, and it looks like something out of you know, it's some kind of a futuristic movie. It's this couple of gigantic towers, and this field of these solar panels just all over the place. And yeah, you would think that using solar panels would be an option for the electricity. Plus, they have, you know, the Hoover Dam over there, cranking out all the volts and watts for all the slot machines and pretty lights and showgirls.
Precisely, but again, the average person. The average person doesn't have access to that or any of that. They don't have the resources or the capital to set up their own, you know, dam or their own solar farm.
No. So,
in a way, the question is that. And one of the people that I've been following talks about the fact that decentralization is going to be going to the people who have the money to be able to invest in this kind of technology. They automatically will have the advantage just simply because of their the scale of capital. And you know, a guy like me or you or like 99% of us won't have that. So there's a danger. Again, I'm not saying that that's going to necessarily happen. I'm just saying that there's obviously some built-in issues that have to be addressed or remedied before I think this can become what people are saying that it should be.
Well, you know that there's only going to be so many of these mined. It's not like this can't go on forever. Once the Bitcoins have been mined, that's it. They're not making any more. You know, and if your whole idea was to set up this multi-billion-dollar plant to mine a few Bitcoins, you know, unless you were the company that harnessed that lightning in a bottle and was able to crank out a few Bitcoins every couple of minutes, then great. But, you know, eventually they're going to run out, and these farms are going to be sitting there, and, you know, what are they going to do then? You know, I'm not quite sure what happens to these companies. Do they have the ability to mine other coins? And then if they do, is it worth all of that land and resources to mine these other coins that are, you know, they're coming out? They're not going to be worth $20, $50, $80, $100,000 a coin. They're going to be worth 20, 80, 100,000 tenths of a coin. And is it worth it to do all that stuff? But then, you know, you got these companies that are letting you mine on their dime. Mining on their dime, and I've got my dollars into a couple of these, and because of the and I forgot what all the requirements to mine a coin depends on how much money that you can make with your mining contract, and so, you know, I put in, you know, a couple $100 to begin with, back when Bitcoin was worth a lot of money, but the difficulty to mine and the price, you know, said that I was going to be, you know, cashing out at about $800 at the end of the year after 1 year. But now I've got more money in there than I did in the beginning, and it's saying that I'm going to cash out with about $300. So I've actually got more money into it than I'm going to be able to pull out unless the difficulty goes up and the price of Bitcoin goes up. So, you know, there's lots of things that determine what your value is when you're mining. And like I said, I'm not an expert on this. I'm very new at this. That's why we're having all these cool people on to come in and tell us, hey, do this, don't do that, do this, don't do that.
Yeah. But, you know, the other thing that I wanted to talk about is that the notion of decentralization does run strong. It's not as if this is some idea or sentiment that just came recently with Bitcoin before with the idea of cryptocurrencies. This has been ongoing for quite some time. I think you and I talked about it even before cryptocurrencies, about different things that are, people are just fed up with the way things are being done officially.
Well, like independent movies, right?
Yeah.
You're not centralized with MGM or Sony or TriStar. Yeah. You go out on your own and you create your own movie. And both of us have done that. Me and you both have done that.
Yes, we both did that back in the 90s. And the thing that happened was, prior to the way it worked was in the 80s, you saw this whole, when VCRs started becoming very popular, they needed content, and you saw this massive increase in or just this popping up of all these video stores, Hollywood, Blockbuster, even independent ones that were literally on every corner. And there were a lot of smaller independent theaters that were, or not theaters, but production companies that were spitting out content that would go straight to cable or straight to VCR, not straight to cable, and straight to cable as well. But when it came to a point that the studios wanted to take over, you couldn't get any shelf space anymore. So a lot of the companies that were distributing independent films, like the ones you and I worked with, that could be made for a few $1,000s, all of a sudden shut down. They could not provide us the shelf space that we needed, and it became almost entirely centralized in Hollywood. Hollywood was going to be controlling every bit of the content. They were going to be controlling what you were going to see, what was going to be placed on those shelves, and little independent guys like us were told goodbye, and just were taken out of the market. But, and I sent you this article by Vanity Fair, that's changing. Hollywood, according to this, and I believe it because I've talked to so many people in the industry over the years, and everything has been changing quite a lot. Production has gone way, way down, and you and I have discussed this time and again, that the Hollywood that we knew growing up is pretty much over. And recently, Vanity Fair ran an article that kind of encapsulates and articulates what we've been seeing for a while.
Yeah, and you can look in our description here on a reference. You can find links to all of these articles that we've been talking about today, and this is one, yeah, like you said, Charlie, it's from Vanity Fair, January 29th, 2017. Nick Bilton, Why Hollywood as We Know It is Already Over. Yeah.
And, you and I talked about it. It's too expensive to do the quintessential American date. Prototypical American date, dinner and a movie. We can't do it if you live in a big town or a big city. You can't do it in Orange County. I mean, it would cost you nearly $100, maybe more, just to do a dinner and a movie.
Oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
And so the point is that, and the content, and you always hear people complaining about the content of movies. They don't like these movies, and that's subjective. But what is not subjective is the point that people are not going anymore. And as the article points out, ticket sales and attendance have been going way down over the years, or at least ticket sales. Yeah. And the revenues are just sagging; they're falling.
Just some of these movies just aren't worth going to see. And you look at some of these movies, you got to judge: is this something that I want to see, that I want to spend the extra money on the big screen, or can I wait until next week when it's on Netflix?
Yeah. Or but what this article talks about is that production is moving into the Silicon Valley and into other places that are more diffuse, because you can now make movies based on the cameras that you have now, the high quality video cameras that you have now that look just like film. You can put together a pretty good film, and maybe if you can find some distribution, you can probably get it out. And the thing is, what they're saying is that a lot of this stuff is now moving to, like I said, Facebook is going to start trying to put out content. Google, Netflix, they're challenging because, for one thing, they can produce a film for a whole lot cheaper than what the traditional studios can make.
Oh yeah, because they don't have 10 billion assistants running around, and they don't have to have these extravagant hotels and trailers and assistants to assistants, and get in my mind latte, cappuccino, frate, no cap, double cap, and a half calf.
Yeah.
On the hour.
And like I said, they don't have to do it. You know, you and I worked on low-budget independent films, and quite honestly, it was decentralized when we did that.
You said no budget. You said no budget films, right? That's
yeah, practically
no budget films.
But the thing was, but it was dependent on a group of people who, you know, a small group of people who thought that, well, we can make a film. We can tell a story just as well as Hollywood can. And we did it for what they would pay for snacks and beverages. I guess it's called craft services. You know, for what they pay for the craft services,
oh my God,
we could have made a film.
That was their entire budget for a movie for one day of craft service. Yeah.
Yeah, precisely. And the thing was, at one point, we were able to get distribution back in the late 80s, or throughout the 80s and up to the early 90s. And we actually could, because the independent, especially the independent video stores, are saying, yeah, we need content. Yeah. So we would go to a company, a small distribution company that was located in well, most of them were located in L.A., but they didn't have to be. But they said, we'll take your film, we'll market it for you, we'll get it into a video store. We're not going to pay you very much, but you didn't pay very much to make this film, and you can keep making more of these. And so you and I knew people who were making a living, making very low budget, you know, guerrilla style films that didn't require any Hollywood. We didn't need a union. You know, we didn't work with unions. None of our actors were union. You know, and some of them that actually came under a different name because they just needed to do some work and get paid a few bucks. And the thing was that I guess it turned out to be a threat, I suppose, because boy, that sure was, you know, squashed pretty quickly when you could not get any more shelf space anywhere. And so once that happened, a lot of those distribution companies like, gosh, I'm trying to think, Concord, New Horizon, you know, Trident, Westside. I mean, there was a whole bunch of these companies. There must have been about 15 of them that were just directly worked with only straight to video or straight to cable. You know, those kinds of guys, and they're pretty much all gone. Yeah. So it's become much more centralized. But in the end, you've got a homogenized product. Literally every movie looks the same. You know, and they have all the same stories, and you see the same people. I'm not jamming these people up necessarily, but I mean, how many times can I see, you know, Susan Sarandon or George Clooney? How many times do I have to see Spielberg? You know, I get it. They're great filmmakers. Can I see something else? Yeah. And more people are saying, you know, give me something else. You know.
Speaking of something else, I want to shamelessly plug my movie that's actually available on Amazon Prime right now. Racing Through the Forest. It's a documentary about the history of the Pebble Beach road races, as told by the men who were there. Legendary drivers such as Fred Knoop, Carroll Shelby, Phil Hill, Bill Pollock, Jim Hall, and Phil Remington. Some of these great guys have passed since the filming, and it's a shame, but you know, it was great that we were able to get their 2 cents in before they parted ways with this and went to the great racetrack in the sky. Racing Through the Forest, available now on Amazon Prime. And Charlie, you and I are going to be working on a movie pretty soon together, I hope. And I met you shortly after you had completed Feast. And I know that we're going to be talking about trying to get some distribution for that, and maybe putting that up. And that's us being decentralized. Damn it.
Yeah, precisely. And you know, the thing is, beyond Hollywood, you have kids. Well, I had a son. He's out of school now, but you know, a lot of people are saying, I don't even like school. I don't like the way the authorities are running the schools. We have homeschooling. But I was going to tell you, there's something called an unschooling movement. I think I sent you an article about how people are saying, you know what? I want my children to be able to be the ones that, or I work with my children to be able to determine what they learn and how they learn it. You know, have them as independent and free thinking as possible. Yeah. And when I first heard about this, I thought, what? It seemed so counterintuitive. But it's a growing movement among people who are just fed up with centralized authority. They're just, for many, you know, for myriad reasons, they're factoring themselves out. They're taking their kids out of the schools, and they're just saying, no, this just isn't working. There's too many other resources available for us to say that the people who run our school districts are the final arbiters of what they should learn, what my kids should learn, or what I should learn. I'm going to learn this stuff on my own, you know, and goodbye to everything else. And if I can get that article, if you have it, I would suggest anybody to read it. I'm not saying that you should do this. I just think that it's a fascinating look into what people and why they're decentralizing, why they're saying, get me away from these central authorities that are controlling my kids' lives. Because when you think about it, you know, how many hours is, you know, my son, I teach, what am I talking about? And the school day is 8 hours, 7 hours. And then we pile on so much homework on the kids' backs.
God. Yeah, they're up until midnight doing homework sometimes.
Yeah, and I know you were telling me about Cookie. Your daughter. You were worried about her because she literally did not get out of her room.
Yeah, I mean, she would come home from school, go to her room, sit in her desk, and you know, she would. Yeah, of course, you know, kids have their iPhones and crap, and they're going to sit and chat and go into you know, in Pinterest and whatever and Instagram, and they're going to be screwing around. But you know, we had Hot Wheels and GI Joes and crap when we were kids, but I don't remember being up many times, you know, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, just trying to do my basic homework, you know. And she is a hell of a lot smarter than I am, and she's up until 10, 11 o'clock sometimes doing homework. So, you know, they don't have time to be kids. They're
yeah. My you know, as a teacher, I had parents that came to me and said, "Hey, listen, you have my kid for 8 hours a day. Why in the world do you need to have them? You know, why are they spending another 3 or however many hours at home doing homework?"
Yeah.
I never have time with my children anymore. My children belong to you. They don't even belong to me.
Yeah.
You are the ones who are determining my life or my family's life, because everything has to revolve around school activities, and homework. And I never have a chance. And so what the hell are you doing in school? And I had more than one parent, quite a number of parents who asked me the same thing. And I said, they were right. You know, I have your kid for quite a while. There's tutoring afterwards. At some point, we should be doing the job, and the job of teaching. Because if I'm going to pile on 4 or 3 or more hours, or whatever it is, not me, but the school's demands and curriculum demands are such that they have to do that, well, that they never have time with their children. No. Their children are taken away from them, effectively taken away from them. And so I started to think that a lot of parents are saying something is going on with the schools, that the children cannot adequately learn within the period of time that they're at school. Something's wrong with the school, not something's wrong with my kid. And that was one of the interesting components of that article that I sent you about the natural child, about the unschooling movement, is to say, and it's not to say that the kids are doing even better. They're not.
No, I mean, no, America. My God, America's dumb. My God, America is stupid. Holy crap! And then they raise the price of, and we're going off on something here, but my God, they raise the price of education so high that these kids coming out of these urban areas and the lower income places, that they can't afford to go to a UC school or a university or anywhere, and then they wonder why we were the dumbest freaking country in the planet.
Well, you know, just a year ago, Bill Gates admitted that Common Core wasn't working.
Oh, that was the most ridiculous thing I ever saw in my life.
Well, yeah, but here was a centralized figure, or a centralized authority. Everybody knows who Bill Gates was. Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation were the ones who were, pushing the idea of Common Core and the need for this sort of centralized curriculum to be distributed throughout the entire country from this one element. And he's even admitting it didn't work. It's got flaws in it.
Yeah,
well, people are looking at this and they're saying, you know what, I'm done. I'm fed up. And that's the kind of sentiment that I was talking about that's really organic and inherent with a lot of people. And that's what cryptocurrencies were tapping into. They're tapping into the real rage and anger and fear. We keep talking about this time and again. There's a real legitimate fear that people have regarding the economy and their finances. So, there is something here. If the cryptocurrencies are capable of actually being decentralized and having this democratic impulse fulfilled,
paving a map for the future of other decentralized elements of our life, you know. So
Yeah.
All right, Charlie. But hey, it's been a great chat with you. We're coming up on our time here, and we got, what do we got coming up next? We got some other goodies coming up.
Oh yeah, we are going to talk to other people who are experts in cryptocurrencies, and specifically.
Yeah, we got a. Who did I sent you? I'm having trouble
Jim
today
Dash was
thinking who's the guy I just sent you? My gosh,
Jim Dash.
Jim, yeah, Jim from Dash. Jim.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, Jim from Dash.
We got some great guests coming up soon, very soon. We got people from all kinds of Super Bloom. Got a lady from Super Bloom coming up tomorrow. In fact, will you talking with her tomorrow? I think that'll be about 11 o'clock tomorrow, Pacific Standard Time.
Very interesting.
All right, Charlie.
Yeah.
I gotta run. It's been great talking with you, and hope you'll be back tomorrow with me to talk to our guest. And like always, from here at the beautiful, this is the new Redka Vodka Studio. Everyone here at the the WonderDog show. Charlie, have a great day. I'm still working on my sign off spiel here. Have a great today and a better tomorrow.
Take it easy, buddy.